From the national anthem to the bottom of the night. Amen. Slamdy, ego. Slamdy, ego. Slamdy, ego. Slamdy, hey. You already know what's up. What's that? Another home run. You should know the job ain't done till we hold that trophy up. Hey.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Talking Friars here on a Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, as the Padres take 2 out of 3 against the Philadelphia Phillies, one of the best teams in baseball. Had some chances today, faced a really good pitcher in Christopher Sanchez, and he was efficient, was at like 83 pitches and still pitching deep into that seventh or eighth inning, still pitching into that deep into this game. So that was tough. But overall, like to end this pre-All-Star break here with a series win against a good team when you're not fully all put together yet still waiting for, one particular big piece to come back. I think you're going to take that and be happy with it and go into the All-Star break, get some well-deserved rest for a lot of the guys. Obviously, Suarez, Adam, Morejon, Manny, Tatis, they're going to be going to the All-Star game. But hopefully, you know, they do nothing the days that follow. What was that? What would that be? Wednesday and Thursday, because I think they're back Friday. So they're probably on the PJ right now to Atlanta, which again, like that's got to be a really cool experience for someone like Jason Adams, someone like Adrian Morejon. Those other guys, they've already done that. For those guys to experience that, it's going to be cool. I'm not just talking about the flight. I'm talking about what comes with being an all-star. I'm sure it's going to be a whirlwind for those guys because it's their first time. But um, it just seems like, obviously, I can't, put myself in those shoes, but it seems like you're just pulled in so many different directions and you're probably not getting that much rest. But it's well worth the experience. Obviously being an all-star and going to that game. So again, just happy for those guys for sure. Adrian Morejon, I've already talked about his story. Jason Adam, by the way, if you missed it, Annie Halbrin had a great conversation with Jason Adam recently, just about his path and him being an all-star and how him being an all-star, it's not just him, but it's his family as well. It's a we accomplishment, not just solely Jason Adam. The 4 surgeries that he had in a span of like 2.5 years. And once being a starter, then being a reliever. Then he was close to being called up to the big leagues, and then he gets traded to another organization, and then they want to make him a starter. And so just battling with teams thinking differently about him and what he can, you know, give to those organizations. And then obviously the injuries and having to fight through that and experiment with, you know what? Let me just put my elbow up to my ear instead of doing a normal throw. Let me just put it up there and throw. Oh, it feels good. Let's just keep doing that and find a way to make that as smooth as possible, when you transition into games. So if you did not see the Annie Halbrin video, or it's also, you can read it on the UT's website, I definitely recommend that you go check that out. But as for this series, Padres Phillies, today's game, Padres losing that one, and in the ninth inning, had an opportunity, and it was. I'm definitely not going to go as far as saying that it felt like a playoff game, but with the environment at Petco, where it's packed, pretty much every night, and Sunday against the Phillies, day game, there was a lot of Phillies fans there for sure, but it was packed, and Petco got loud there in that ninth inning, and Tatis obviously had to fly out to left to end the game. But it was close, and what sucked was, and I had really good seats, second row. I don't think I've sat that close during a game before, unless I'm totally forgetting a game. But that was amazing. Right by the first baseline, and I guess I was on TV. I did see someone sent me a picture of that. But yeah, like Luis Ariz lining out twice, hits the ball hard, lines out twice. And in the first inning, You had the Phillies' first run come across where those balls weren't hit hard. There was a number, can't do anything about. Manny barehands it. It's a do or die play, right? You got to barehand it to even give yourself a shot. Can't do that. Not successful. And that's just baseball. Not going to hit a ball hard, you get rewarded. You hit a ball hard and you don't get rewarded. Like Arise stung. I mean, sitting field level, when you see a line drive like that, you can tell if it's stung or not. And yeah, he hit that ball hard, but it ends up going right at Bryce Harper. One of them. And then I think another one went to the short to Trey Turner. So in a one-run game like that, those little things matter. I'm not saying like Luis Arise don't hit a line drive. That's what you want to do. But just those little things, if it's hit a couple feet higher, if it's hit a couple feet to one direction, what does this game look like? But bottom line, Padres lost. But again, taking 2 out of 3 is what was the main goal for me going into this series for sure. And they did that. And, going into this break, you have Tatis and Manny and Xander as well. Merrill with a couple homers yesterday off Zach Wheeler. Um, Guys I think are trending in the right direction. We'll see how much longer Luis Camposano is going to be on this roster, by the way, because he was called up today, Gavin Sheets' paternity list, so congratulations to his family whenever that time comes. But will Gavin Sheets be in the lineup on Friday? I would think so. Um, and like today, for example, Camposano came up and DH'd. So, and it already, I've kind of already given up on this, like give Campy another shot, because as much as I want to see it, it's not realistic. The Padres, they've already just given up on him, is what it seems like. And it sucks to see when you have your offense catching situation looking as bad as it does. I know that talk about that's baseball. Yesterday, Merrill facing Zach Wheeler, Merrill hasn't homered in, weeks and weeks and weeks. Hasn't homered since May, I think, going into that. And he hits 2 home runs off of one of the best pitchers in baseball. And then you got Martin Maldonado, who a lot of Padres fans don't even want on this team. See people on social media saying, send Martin Maldonado into orbit so that, whenever you bring another catcher in here, send this guy way out of here. And he ends up coming through with an RBI single off of Zach Wheeler. You never know what can happen. As much as we want to think we know, and, Phillies, yeah, they're going to win this game. You don't know. You really don't know. But yeah, just overall, the big guys, I think, are trending in the right direction. I think that's very positive to look at. Bogarts, I think that's someone that maybe isn't talked about enough. How I think he has helped this Padres team this year. I think overall, like, he's stealing bases. I think he's been fine defensively. And offensively, it's been better lately. So I'm glad I'm not seeing a bunch of fans like super frustrated that Xander's still at shortstop. I don't see fans like calling for Jose Iglesias to be playing shortstop every day. So, and that's good because like we know the talent is there with Bogarts. It's just a matter of can he be consistent with it here as a San Diego Padre? Because we don't care what he did with the Red Sox years and years and years ago. 2018 is now 7 years ago. We don't care about that. We care about what are you going to do here for us. We haven't won a World Series. I haven't gotten to a World Series definitely in my lifetime. Last time, 1998. So when are they going to do that? And they signed Xander Bogaerts to this big contract. One of the cornerstones of the franchise, obviously, for the next decade plus, 11 years. And there's been some injuries too, but he just consistently hasn't been the guy that you want him to be. But I think, as I've said before, I think people look at the $280 million and think that he should produce to that level. and that's not being realistic. We all know that the Xander Bogaerts contract was an overpay. If you put him in a room and you make him tell the truth, he would probably say as well, yeah, Padres overpaid for me, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, give me less money. This is what I actually probably should be making. No, he's going to take the money. So I don't fault him for that. And it's someone that does care. Go listen to his post games. He's honest. He is pretty blunt about it. And I can definitely sense that he cares and wants to win for this city. So I am totally a fan of Xander, and I'm a believer in Xander. I think come postseason time, I think there is a switch that can flip in certain players where it's like, all right, I'm going to show him who I am. Or, oh, it's postseason time? All right. And I'm not saying that they go about things differently, but maybe they just, for some reason, are able to excel come postseason time, which Xander has done in the past. Will he do it this year, in the future? Who knows? We shall see. But just getting back overall, actually, let me check the chat real quick just to make sure you guys can hear me. Oh, you can't hear me. Before I came on here, I literally put the volume at the highest level. My mic is at the highest level, so I don't know what to tell you. How about if I do this? It's not even going to let me. All right, so the volume's low, but can you actually hear me? Can you still hear me, though? Even if it's low? You just have to turn it up. Phone is all the way up and you can barely hear. Okay. I don't know why that's happening because my mic's all the way up. How about now? Maybe that's better? That is better. Still don't hear anything. How about now? Okay, someone says they hear me. Okay, so I'm just gonna start talking. Because I don't want the podcast people to just hear me asking if you can hear me for 15 minutes. Okay, where was I? Today's game. So Padres lose 2-1. To go through the scoring in this game, first inning was weird because it's like I mentioned earlier. It's one of those like that's baseball. Nick Pivetta was not hit hard. Bryson Stott reaches on that the air, which from my I was in a different spot than I was later in the game. I couldn't tell if that was on Pivetta or that was on Luis Ariz. Combination of both, maybe. Did it help that Luis Ariz isn't the biggest target at first base? Probably. Doesn't help. But play should have been made, and the Padres are down 1-0 right there, and that ends up being the difference in the game. They lose by 1 run. And when you're facing great teams, you can't be giving them those. You can't be making mistakes like that. Give them more chances, give them free base runners, give them free runs. Don't just take outs that they're giving you. It's going to be an issue. Um, Now, bottom six, Padres did tie it up at one. Iglesias with an RBI single. Manny scored. Top of the eighth, though, comes around, and JT Realmuto. Again, I was like second row right by the Padres dugout in this game. And that was a loud crack of the bat. Line drive into the gap. Harper scores, and it's 2-1, and that ends up being the final. In terms of the bullpen usage today by Mike Schill, I didn't really understand it, to be quite honest. You're going into the All Star break. I know that Jeremiah Estrada wasn't going to be available, obviously. But let me pull up the bullpen usage chart that I tweeted out this morning. Because Suarez and Adam, they both didn't pitch yesterday. So they could have pitched today. Morhone ended up pitching. They probably weren't going to go with Hoeing. And David Morgan obviously has the velocity that Alec Jacob doesn't. But I personally would have liked to see Adam and Suarez in this game. I don't care that they were losing. It was a 1-run game, and it was a tie game before the eighth inning happened. So the game's up for grabs. And going into the All-Star break, like those guys, they're already All-Stars. Like, don't if you're Mike Schill, you're trying to win the baseball game. Who cares if they're going to pitch on Tuesday or not? So you're trying to win, and would I rather have Wandy Peralta on the mound? I know he did his job, but would I rather have him on the mound? Would I rather have David Morgan on the mound over Adam, over Suarez? The answer is no, obviously. Like Nick Pivetta pitched his butt off, 6 2/3, no runs, 8 punch outs. Morhone comes in, and then after that, when Morhone's on the mound, I look out in the bullpen and I see it's David Morgan, and I'm like, does Mike Schilt know the All-Star breaks tomorrow? Why are we going to? Now you look at his ERA; it's 2.14, and he gave up no runs today. I get it, but I'm just saying, I'd rather go with Jason Adam than with David Morgan. I'd rather go with Suarez than David Morgan or Wandy Peralta. Uh, I don't think I'm the only one that feels that way when they were watching this whole bullpen situation happen. Is the bullpen the reason why the Padres lost this game? I mean, in the eighth inning, sure, you give up the RBI double there by JT Realmuto, but I would say more the Phillies' dominant pitching. I would say that error in the first inning for sure. And then the Padres hitting some balls on a line that just found Phillies' gloves and not the grass. And sometimes that's going to happen. But you combine the things, right? Combine the bad luck with the error, and this is how we get here. So, going into the All-Star break, I'm happy that they took 2 out of 3, but disappointed that they weren't able to sweep this game for sure. I mean, the crowd, there's not more that I can say about the crowd. It just, they continue to show up. They continue to be loud. And this Padres team, could they have a better record? They could. They're not the best team in the league, but this fan base continues to show up day in and day out uh, for this group of guys. So that's been really cool to see. And it's probably never going to get old. Maybe people that have season tickets, my family does, maybe they've gotten used to the ballpark being full, but I know when I sit there, in between innings or during a pitching change or a mound, whatever, when there's a moment, and I'm kind of looking around, I'm some of the time I'm looking around the stadium, seeing it packed like that, just to not take it for granted and to appreciate it, because I remember, when my family first got season tickets, like we had it one time, but then got it again going into the All Star season in 2016, so we could get tickets to the All Star game and the Home Run Derby. Um, those games were totally different than what we're seeing now with the crowd attendance. And you know, we've sat through or at least I did. Craig Stammen giving up 4 home runs in a row to the Nationals on that. I think it was a Sunday day game. Corey Seager walking off the Padres first game back. I think Padres Dodgers 2021 with the social distancing that was going on. There's been some tough ones that we've sat through. I'm not even mentioning postseason games. Um, so to see the crowd continue to do this day in and day out, I know they did it last year. They've been doing it for years now, but I don't think it's ever something that we should just gloss over and be like, yeah, this was what the attendance was. Yeah, it was packed tonight. I think it's something to appreciate. San Diego, you go look at the numbers, not the cheapest place to live, and but fans continue to save up their money, continue to spend their money on this franchise, and so it's cool. And hopefully we can get rewarded by making the playoffs, going on a deep run, and not just a deep run, but obviously winning the whole dang thing. The Padres, by the way, they did have their draft today, at least the first pick, because the draft continues. One, before getting to the first pick, I don't understand why the draft is at 3 o'clock Pacific time on a Sunday afternoon for years. Doesn't make sense. Sure, let's put the draft on while there are other MLB games going on. Do you see the NFL do that? Do you see NBA do that? WNBA? Do you see these successful leagues put on their draft, which is highlighting the young talent coming up? It's a big event to watch. And I know the MLB draft, like the number one pick today was a 17-year-old, I think. So they don't immediately impact the team. So I understand why some would have the opinion like, who cares? Like, we don't know these players. It's not college football. We don't know these players anyway. But for baseball fans like myself, I did have time to watch the Padres pick live because they were picking 25th, I think, in this first round. If they were picking top five, I wouldn't have been able to see it live. I was at the game, and, on the trolley home. Um, but it just doesn't make sense to put one of your big events on at the same time as MLB games are going on. Those teams, fan bases, are not watching the draft. They're watching their team play. And I think the draft started around 3 o'clock today. And it's like, why can't we make that draft be at 5 o'clock Pacific time? 7:30 Eastern time, 4:30 Pacific. Like, after the afternoon games are done, then you go to the draft where all the attention can be on the draft. But anyway, off my rant. Today, the Padres, with their first pick, they drafted a high school pitcher, left-handed pitcher. He's 6'8", and he can hit too. But I would think the Padres would have him focus on pitching. But we know Preller loved Ohtani and probably still does, the talent of Shohei Ohtani, and so why not try him both to start things out? In rookie ball, whatever the first steps are, why not try it and see how he does? Because with that 6'8" frame to swing the bat too, that would be pretty big. But for the pitcher, his name Cruz Schoolcraft. The Padres love picking great names. Not just the first round of drafts, but just drafts overall in this Preller tenure. Boston Bateman, Cash Mayfield, Jackson Merrill. I think those are pretty cool names. Cruz Schoolcraft, left-handed pitcher from Sunset High School in Oregon. He was committed to Tennessee, and the Tennessee head coach, he was actually doing some commentary on an MLB network, so he probably was not happy to see that because he is not going to be going to Tennessee. But this is the ESPN scouting report from Kylie McDaniel. At 6'8", Schoolcraft has two-way ability on the mound and at first base, but it's his powerful left arm that got him drafted this high. While he sits in the low 90s, he has been up to 97, throwing from a low three-quarter slot. There are concerns about his breaking ball and how the fastball plays, but his changeup has a chance to be outstanding. It's a strong foundation for a young pitcher. MLB player comp is Christopher Sanchez, who dominated the Padres today. So if it all clicks, that's a nice comparison there to have. I think this is the Fangraphs full report. Amazing grace and fluidity for his size, plays the game low to the ground for a 6'8" guy, coasting with quality fastball strikes at 91 to 94. He touched 96 at the area code games, sat 95-97 in the Perfect Game All-American game. I think that was at Petco. Then was more 92-94 for starts the following spring. Secondary stuff is not especially nasty right now. Would go in the entire high school starts without throwing his breaking ball. Sounds like Suarez. Changeup is power sink and could be plus at peak. Advanced feel for the location, can lean on it when he's behind in the count. Goes through periods where his four-seamer is sailing on him, and he shifts to two-seamers within a start to get the pitch to sit down in the zone. It worked against high schoolers due to the sheer velo, but might not be a viable crutch against pro hitters. Plus command and durability projection. Love the size, athleticism. Have you ever seen a 6'8" kid execute a perfect pop-up at the end of a hustle double? An ease of operation, but it might be tough to meet a rumored $3 million ask price when the player in question lacks a good breaking ball. So you have that. But if I'm the Padres and I get to work with this 6'8" guy, like monster of a human being, yeah, I think I'm pretty confident that I can help him out with his breaking stuff. If I'm the Padres, that's how I would feel. So add him to the list of guys to follow in the minor leagues, and someone that I think is going to be talked about a lot amongst diehard Padres fans that are following the Padres farm system. Yeah. Other than that, I'm not going to act like I know a ton about him because I don't. But I can play you the audio here of the MLB Network clip. When Rob Manfred announced Schoolcraft,
with the 25th pick of the 2025 MLB Draft, the San Diego Padres select Cruz Schoolcraft, a left-handed pitcher from Sunset High School in Beaverton, Oregon. The Philadelphia Phillies have the next pick.
This kid is 6'8", 229. Again, 18 years old, Gatorade Player of the Year for the state of Oregon. 7-0 ERA at 0.39.
Jeez.
But he can hit, too. He's got a lot of power. Therefore, we had Jack Caglione give us his assessment through this Player's Eye watch.
I'm Jack Caglione, and this is a Player's Eye breakdown on Cruz School. Yeah, Cruz, I mean, the first thing, he's huge. I got to meet him in Gainesville one time. He's a great kid, but he's got great stuff on the mound. He moves really well for how big he is. And he's got an electric arm. He throws really hard. The biggest thing, he's accurate. So I'm super pumped for him on the pitching side of things. But at the plate, he moves very well. He stays low. He keeps his head still. And it looks like he's got crazy power. So, yeah, that's all I got on Cruz. But I'm looking forward to see what he does.
All right. Let me turn that off. Cruz Schoolcraft. What a name. So yeah, that's what I've got on, the Padres' first-round pick there. We'll see what happens later in this draft. I think it is something to note. The pick after the Padres was, I think, the Phillies, and they selected Gage Wood, who was the guy that threw the no-hitter in the College World Series against Murray State, I believe, from Arkansas. So the Padres, they could have had him, and he's someone that's seemed very close to the big leagues, like some of his pitches potential to jump into the big leagues right now and contribute. So Padres decide to pass on the college uh, star pitcher, college hyped up pitcher, and instead they go with a guy from high school in Oregon who won the Gatorade Player of the Year there. So, and remember Mackenzie Gore won it for North Carolina, maybe even the whole country. The Padres got him. So, young guys, high school guys, check. Up the middle, check. Another pitcher. So, should be pretty fun. Quickly, game 2 last night, Padres lost that one 5-4. I was working, so didn't really get to watch this and didn't give a reaction, obviously, because I was working. But Castellanos came through for the Phillies. Remuto with a double. He was lining balls all over the ballpark this series. That made it 2-0. Jackson Merrill, though, with a homer, tied it up at 2. Martin Maldonado, of all people, against Zach Wheeler. Maldonado comes through with an RBI single. You just don't know what's going to happen in baseball. You can think you know, predict. Something's going to happen. Get a good pitch to hit and put the ball in play, and they could find a hole. So that tied it up. Then the 5th came along, and Mundo Sosa singled on a ground ball to left. Kepler and Brandon Marsh both scored there on that. And Sosa was in the game because Alec Bohm got hit in the rib cage. So that's another one of those, like, that's baseball. You probably wouldn't want to bet Mundo Sosa in that situation, but got to because of injuries, and it ends up hurting the Padres. But the Padres do obviously come back and win this game. Jackson Merrill takes that high fastball out to tie it up 4-4, and that's got to be so awesome. Like, Merrill, it's been a struggle. We know it's been a struggle. He doesn't need us to tell him that it's been a struggle. He's as hard, if not harder, probably harder on himself than everybody else is on him. And so he didn't just do it off of Joe Schmo. He did it off of Zach Wheeler. That's got to boost your confidence if he wasn't confident. On the outside, he looks like he's always confident, but we know that could not be the same thing on the inside. It could be easier for players, and I'm sure players have done this where they act like everything's fine, they act confident, but what's happening in that brain? Are you really confident, or are you trying to convince yourself to be confident? Right? Like, those are different things. The sac fly from Manny, I saw a lot of people saying, like, oh, Merrill's 2 homers lifts the Padres over the Phillies, and I'm like, Merrill's second home run tied the game. Manny's sac fly gave them the lead. So, now without Merrill, obviously, they don't win that game, but for anyone that maybe didn't watch the game, maybe they got a little misled, Manny's sac fly was the one that gave the Padres the 5-4 lead there. By the way, Nick Pivetta today, I know I'm bouncing around. Nick Pivetta today, awesome to see him start. And I think he had some sort of case for the All-Star game, but not surprised with the talent that is in Major League Baseball, specifically in the National League, starting pitching-wise. I get him not being selected. And then obviously him pitching today, like, he wouldn't have been able to pitch on Tuesday anyway, so why waste a potential all-star bid on someone that you know is just going to say, I can't pitch. Right? That was today, 6 2/3, no runs, 8 punch-outs. ERA is down to 2.88 on the season. And then Darvish in game 1, he went 4 2/3, 4 earned runs. That was, he got hit pretty hard in some of those spots there. Ball found holes. They were trying to get him through 5 innings there and just wasn't able to do it. But at the same time, you have an offense that can score runs. And Padres proved that again in game 1, winning that 5-4. In a team effort. You go through that effort. Sorry, this is not game 1. This was game 2 still. Sorry, yesterday. Game 2. They won 5-4. The team effort, not just the homers, but obviously like someone at the bottom of the order, like Martin Maldonado coming through. And then the 4-2 win on Friday Castellanos homered. Iglesias RBI double. Elias Diaz ground out, makes it 2-1. Tatis RBI single, now it's 3-1. Schwarbaum 3-2. And then Manny's homer for insurance in the bottom of the 8th. No oppo there. Manny's locked in, and it's great. Under Mike Schilt, the Padres already have a better record historically in the second half of the season, post All-Star break is what I mean by that, than they do before. So hoping that continues. But you need your guys to be hot. You need your guys to be clicking. And Tatis and Manny, Manny definitely is. Tatis, you're seeing the encouraging signs for sure. And then Jackson Merrill, I know the talent's there. Talent-wise, I'm not worried about it. It's more about, is this actually a sophomore slump, or is this just a little more than a month, probably a couple months actually, of him trying to do too much, not be himself. So we'll see. Suarez got the save. Suarez, Adam Morhone, and Estrada, the 4 final pitchers to pitch in Game 1 of that series. And yeah. Let's look at the chat here. I'm seeing someone say Adam and Suarez deserve the rest today. I disagree with that. Deserve the rest. It's one game until the All-Star break. It was a 1-run game. It was tied earlier in the game, and they probably could have gone with Jason Adam or whoever else they wanted in a matchup. Right before break, and it's not like today would have been pitching their 3rd or 4th day in a row. I would have, and maybe they did ask, are you good to go regardless of the situation because the All-Star break's tomorrow? Maybe they said, only if we have the lead. Or I don't know what else they would say. But we don't totally know, but I'm just assuming that they had the opportunity to put them in the game, and they didn't. So I didn't love that today. All right, shout out to the great partners of the show, Gaglione Bros Famous Cheesesteaks and Garlic Fries. Their main location is on Friars Road. You can check them out. Link is in the description. Their full expanded menu is at that Friars Road location, but they're inside Snapdragon Stadium and Petco Park as well. At Snapdragon, they are on the east side, and then at Petco, section 124, and then section 319. They've got garlic fries, they've got cheese fries, cheesesteak fries. So as you're walking by there, you probably can smell it, especially before the game when there's not as many people walking the concourse. So check out Gaglione Bros. If you want a cool custom basketball jersey, hit up freestylecutandstitch.com. That is their website. They're on Instagram. Same handle, Freestyle Cut and Stitch. They've served Padres players customized jerseys for them. And the Padres have actually started doing basketball jersey giveaways. They're doing that, I think, later this year with one of the players. Might be Manny. I forget who. But where did that come from? Did it just come from the Padres' brain, or did it come from Freestyle Cut and Stitch? It came from Freestyle Cut and Stitch. Padres aren't going to say that, but come on. You didn't have this giveaway before. Now that the basketball jerseys are big, you see them all around San Diego, and now you want to do it. So if you want something that's cheaper than $200 on a baseball jersey at the Padres team store, whatever the cost is, I assure you it's not $60. It's not $70. Whatever the total cost would be here. And to help you out, 10% off on any future orders with the code Talking Friars. Same code, by the way, for SeatGeek, $20 or 20%. No, $20, sorry. $20 off your first order when you sign up with your email. Again, that is on SeatGeek. And then Breaking Tea, they've got some Padres and Aztecs shirts and sweatshirts. You can click the link in the description for that. On YouTube right now, there is no description, but on the podcast platforms here in a little bit, and then on replay on YouTube, I will have the links that you can click on. So there is that. All right, let's finish this off with the chat. Jackson says we have a Luis Ariz issue. What's the issue? Like the issue that he needs to be more patient, the issue he doesn't have power, you not like him at first base. What's the Luis Ariz issue? JD's third asked, did Schilt punt today's game? I think he could have put Adam and Suarez in. when the All-Star break starts right after they're done. um, so I probably won't go as far as say they punted, but it was a long field goal try, and they weren't going to make it. Someone's really saying DFA more home. Tell me you haven't watched the Padres this year without telling me you haven't watched the Padres. The guy should have been the first All-Star reliever named, not Adam, not Suarez. Should have been Adrian Morejon, but because it's the All-Star game, Morejon gets penalized. But the guy has a 1.85 ERA this year, 47 games, 43 and 2/3, 42 punchouts, and an a .82 WHIP. Like that's disgusting. That is wow. And while I get to that, seeing it from the second row today, the movement on some of these pitches with the height, just makes it that much more impressive that these guys can barrel up these baseballs. Manny, what a catch he made, by the way, that sliding catch up against the wall. Holy cow. Future Hall of Famer, obviously, one of the best third basemen. He will end up going down as one of the best third basemen in baseball when all things are said and done. And so that was another one you add to the highlight reel. I think of the one that he made in Colorado over the tarps, and then this one here. That was pretty good. Sliding, not pretty good, very good. Sliding towards the wall, you got to brace for that. You've got to see where the ball is, be tracking that the whole time, and then to know where to have your glove as well. Like that's way easier said than done for sure. Let's see. Adam and Suarez deserve the rest today. They've been overused. They can rest during the All-Star break. Don't pitch in the All-Star game then. You know, easier said than done because like Morejon and Adam may not be back in the All-Star game. I guess same thing with Suarez. You never know, but really those two. So they can soak it in, but technically they are getting rest anyway. Mike says they all need to stay here in San Diego, rest and work out, get ready for the second half. More rest than working out. Like it's a long season of baseball. You will burn calories. You will be in shape. Like I wouldn't worry too much about the whole working out part. This is their one time that they get a break. Their one time those that aren't all-stars get a 4-day break before playing on Friday. And I think there may be some teams that actually play on Thursday, which it's not the Padres, I know that. But usually they have like a first game since the All-Star game. Let's play it, the day before everyone else comes back. Let's have it on prime time, something like that. But let's see, Padres, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, Friday, July 18th, they're back. They go to the Washington Nationals. And then the second series, they're in Miami for 3, and then they are going to St. Louis for 4 games. So enjoy the rest because they're not getting it coming out of the All-Star break. But rest is the biggest thing for me, for sure. And it's about to be the biggest thing for me, literally, because I'm tired. Mike says, I don't know what the Padres are going to end up with in the trade deadline, but I guarantee you Philly is going to get a couple bullpen pieces. Yeah, like they probably do need some help, but they're pretty nasty. Edmund says, I'm not sure if this was asked, but why not pursue JD from Boston? Hard AF. Jaron Duran is what you're saying? I'm like, JD Martinez, like that was years ago. Duran, they probably are pursuing him, yeah. But do the Padres want to give up Ethan Salas? No. And by the way, the update there I saw from, I think, Jeff Sanders was that he was supposed to return maybe sometime in July, but now it could be August, could even be September. So this is just more time that he's losing when he could be developing. But injuries happen. Just part of it. And at the catching position, like it takes even more time to develop. So we'll see when we see him at the big league level. Mike says we're going to lose Suarez at the end of the season. What do you think about sending him to Philly, who has no closer and raid their farm system? I think that's stupid because the Padres could face the Phillies in the postseason, and you're just gonna have your season be ended by Robert Suarez. No, I'm good. Trade him to an American League team. I still don't want that. I'd rather have the Four Horsemen, but uh, if they're going to trade him, then trade him to an American League team. Do not trade him to the Phillies. Do not trade him to the Dodgers. Do not trade him to the Mets. Do not trade him to the Giants. Do not trade him to the Cubs. You get my point. JD Surd says, if we miss the playoffs, will AJ be back for a lame duck season next year, or is he gone? If they miss the playoffs, I would think he'd be gone. Have new ownership come in, set a tone, like this is unacceptable. He's been here for over a decade, and now he's not making the playoffs after the year they had this past year, and he's probably going to make some additions before the deadline. Like, I think they're going to make the playoffs, so this is kind of like a question that isn't going to matter. Hopefully, it's not going to matter or be relevant at all when the end of this regular season comes. Guys, I apologize again about the whole mic thing. I've tried to turn my mic. I have turned my mic up on my board to the highest volume. I don't know why it's not working. So hopefully you can hear me when you turn your mic up, or you turn your volume up there. Because like some days I feel like it's worked, and then some days people say that it hasn't. All right, since the sound quality stinks, I'm just going to end it because I don't want people to keep sitting through it then. Um, my apologies. I don't understand why this is happening, and it's irritating, so I'm going to try to figure that out.